Okay, now that we have the basics of inequalities down, we're going to get some harder versions of this, but it's going to work just like solving regular equations. At the very end, we're going to just put our toe into how to deal with some word problem translations of inequalities. I'll show you that when we get there. So this is going to work exactly the same as solving any equation is going to work. We're going to leave the inequality alone unless we divide by a negative or multiply by a negative. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. So I'm subtracting 9m from both sides, and I get negative 5m is less or equal to 17. Now look what will happen here. I'm dividing by a negative 5. So that's going to flip the inequality, and now I get this for an answer. Now in interval notation, I've got m is greater than or equal to negative 17/5. There we go, in interval notation. Okay, feel free to try one. I'm going to subtract 7q. Okay, going to get them back together. Same rules for solving any equation. Get them back together. Okay, now they are together. Let's divide both sides by negative 4. But that is going to flip my inequality sign this way, and I'm going to get 23 over 4. Now it's reading left to right, so we want q to be less than or equal to 23 over 4. Okay, normal rules. So the rooms are clean. We want to get the x's back together. I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. Now I'm dividing both sides by negative 4, so we have to keep in mind that that flips it. Okay, we want the x's that are greater than negative 19 over 4. Okay, well I don't want them, that exact number, so I give it a parenthesis, and then we'd be going on forever. Alright, the only thing is here, this is exactly like we learned when we were solving equations. It's just going to be a lot more complicated. We're going to clean up the room on the left, clean up the room on the right, get them back together, and then get them alone. And so I'm distributing the 3. Now there's more cleanup to do here. I've got like terms, so I'm going to put the 8p and the 3p together. Okay, the rooms are now clean here. Once we're here, the rooms are clean. Let's get the p's back together. If he's in both rooms, you'll never get him alone. So I'm going to subtract 7p, which creates this. Now add 30. So this is now the final step. Let's get p alone. I add 36 to both sides. Divide both sides by 4, and I get this. So I want p to be greater than 2 in interval notation. We don't want 2, but we'd go above. Okay, pause it if you'd like to try. I'm going to start working it. Okay, so I'm cleaning up, the room on the right's clean, but I'm going to try to clean this up, distribute that 2. I've combined my like terms. Okay, let's get the y's and back together. Now they're in both rooms and I don't want that. So I'm putting them back together. Sorry, negative 24. Now we have the rooms clean. I've got y back together. Let's get him alone. Now look here, I've subtracted 12, but that is not dividing by a negative. So I've got a negative here, but I didn't divide by a negative. So addition and subtraction, that's fine. That doesn't change the sign. And then here, lastly, I'm going to divide both sides by 6. And again, I have a negative in the answer, but I did not divide by a negative, so this is fine. And it reads y is greater than negative 6. Okay, pause the video if you want to try this one. I'm going to start. I am cleaning up the room on the left, and there's more to do. I can combine like terms. Okay, the rooms are clean, but I've got u's on both sides. I'm going to add 1 now because I'm ready to start getting u by himself. I don't know why they love all these fractions, but they do. Okay, u is greater than 33 over 4 would be like that. Okay, I'm imagining that what's going to happen here is that after all the madness, we're going to have to divide by a negative. Let's see. So we're cleaning up both rooms. Oh, no, something different's going to happen. So look what happens here. We have a situation where we've cleaned up the rooms. We're trying to get the x's back together, and they're literally going to fall out. There are none left. And we're left with something like this, where negative 10 is less than 36. Well, that's true, isn't it? You want to ask yourself, is that true or false? And that is true. And so there are no variables left, and what is stated there is telling the truth. This means all real numbers. What is being said is true, which means it's always true because there's no variables involved. So all real numbers is what this means because it's telling the truth. Now, what would all real numbers be in interval notation? It would be that. That is every number. Okay, now I'm assuming the same thing is going to happen here. Now I'm going to send a 3. He's going to own that minus. It's going to be a negative 3. And I'm going to start cleaning up over here. Over here, the like terms, I get 1b minus 9 is greater than... Oh no, I'm sorry. 4b and 3b, that's 7b minus 9 is greater than... Okay, now 7b, we've got the rooms clean. Let's get them back together. Well, if I subtract 7b from both sides, I'm left with negative 9 is greater than negative 30. Well, that is true. And there are no variables, so it must mean all real numbers, which in interval notation is that. Okay, I'm assuming they're doing the same thing, but let's find out. Remember that minus 7, negative 7 owns that sign. Okay, I've cleaned up my rooms. If I get the h's back together, I'm left with negative 14 is less than 88. So all real, and in interval notation, it would be that. Okay, now this is a trick that I may have shown you before. We want to get rid of all the fractions. I do not want to work with these fractions. I think they're going to do that, aren't they? Yeah, they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the LCD, the number they would all turn into if I was trying to add them up. And I'm going to multiply the entire problem by that number. And so what I mean is every group that's separated by a plus or a minus or an inequality sign or an equal sign. And I have 4 groups. Now my LCD here is 24. So I'm going to multiply every part of this problem by 24. Now, let's see, they're probably not shown in a way I like. What's good enough, I guess. So we're going to send the 24 to everything. 24 and a third is 8a. 24 and 1/8 is 3a. 24 and 5/24. You see what's happening here? It's just allowing me to reduce. Now, I have eliminated all of the fractions from the problem, which is going to make working this a great deal easier. So now we pick it back up, we clean up, and now we get them in the same room. Now look what happened again. The a's dropped out. There's no variable left, but I have 0 is greater than 18. Okay, now that's not true. So we're going to say that is no solution. That can't be. 0 cannot be greater than 18. In an interval notation, there's nothing we can write because there's no solution. Okay, try this one yourself. Your LCD here is 12. You're going to multiply every group by a 12. Oh no, I'm wrong. It is not 12. Because of this 8, it's going to be 24. So I'm doing 24 times everything. Every group. Okay, so I'm going to get 6x minus 2x, and I'm going to get 4x. Now 8 and 24 cancel down to be 3. 3 times 7 is 21. So I've got 4x is greater than 4x plus 21. Okay, now get the x's back together because the rooms are clean. I'm going to have 0 is greater than 21, which is not true. So there's no solution. And nothing I can do in interval notation. Now this is the same. I'm going to skip this because I'm sure it's going to have the same result. But well, you know what? Hold on. I would say so. Your LCD here would be 15. You're multiplying every group by 15. Okay? Now, whenever you clear these fractions out, it doesn't mean they always end with no solution. They were just doing that. You can get a regular solution. That's just a trick to clean it out. All right. Now, this is a table that tells you we're going to turn some just real basic expressions from English language into math language. We've done that before. Now, the only difficulty here is that I don't actually memorize all of these. I just think through the logic of what they're saying. But if you want to refer to this, you can come back. It would be in the notes. So we're going to go into math language from the English language. We're going to be a translator. So we're going to go left to right. 12 times c. Now it's no more than 96. Now I'll show you on here. So no more than, can't you see that's what it would mean, less than or equal to? This is no more than. It's allowed to be 96, but no more than. Okay? All right, so they went through and solved it, and everything else there's the same. The key here is, can we turn them into math language? So I'm going to work another one. I've got going left to right. 20 times y is at most 100. So let's look back. So we've got at most. Okay, once again, that's less than or equal to. It's allowed to be 100, but no more. Okay, 9 times z is no less than 135. So if you aren't sure, come back to our chart. No less than would be greater than or equal to. Okay, now we're doing 30. So this reads 30 less than x. But do you remember less than is the one that makes us go the other way around? So 30 less than x makes us flip that. At least 45. Okay. It could be 45 or it could be greater. So at least is another greater than or equal to. Okay, we got another less than. 19 less than reads like this, but less than makes us flip it. Is no less than 47. Could be greater, but it's no less than 47. Okay, for more than a, now that doesn't mess up. That one's fine. We don't have to flip anything. For more than a is at most 15. Okay, they didn't use all the different options. They did lots of less than, equals, greater than, or equal to's. But again, one last time here. This chart could get you through, but I can usually think through logically what they need to be. Sometimes I have to pause and make sure I've got it. But this would help you if you need it. But for now, we're just going to be setting up the real basics of this, just that you can do the little bit of translating that into English. This is mostly about, can you solve the equations? They work exactly the same. You clean up both rooms, you get the I don't know back together, then you get them alone. Just be careful. If you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, then you have to flip the inequality sign the other way around.